Welcome to Design Domination, where you'll learn to become a better, more business-savvy designer so you can dominate your competition. Hi, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Colleen Grotzer, and in this episode of Design Domination, I'm talking about misconceptions that you might have about outsourcing to another designer, a developer, or another type of virtual assistant versus keeping all that work in-house and doing it all yourself. Now, when I say outsourcing, I'm referring to you potentially hiring a freelancer, or it could be a full-time or a part-time subcontractor. And I'm not just referring to outsourcing only client work, because you could outsource administrative and marketing tasks like invoicing and writing blog posts and even creating social media images. Okay, so let's get into some objections that I hear from other designers and some that I've even said myself. The first one is that only I can do what I do. Oh, so many designers say, only I can do what I do, darling. And I know because I used to say the same thing. When I was doing all the things, branding and logo design, print design, publication layout, web design, web development, email design, coding, etc., right? I was asked by a coach one time, what would I be willing to give up? What would I be willing to get off my plate to help my business? And the choice was design or web development. And I struggled so badly with this question. I'm good at both, I told him. And I like doing both. And I like the creative and I like the technical. But my coach insisted on one answer, only one of those two. So I gave it more thought and I said, okay, I'll keep design. I'm a much better designer than developer. And I thought it would be easier to find a good developer to help me. And oh my God, I did. He is so much better than me, and he's faster, and he has much more technical knowledge on a lot of things. And it's funny because looking back on it, I was so afraid to take that step. And then later I wondered why I hadn't done it sooner. It was so nice to get all of that off my plate and just focus on what I did best while letting him focus on what he does best. And a few years after that, I found a great designer and I got the design work off my plate too. I didn't have time to do all the client work and a podcast and all the marketing that comes with it myself. And then in this business for my podcast and courses, I hired an amazing details person. And it's funny how he took over handling a lot of the admin and detail-oriented tasks that I originally thought only I could do. And then I realized how I had missed some details. And I had too much on my plate. I was going in so many different directions. I was managing client work, preparing podcast episodes, creating and marketing my courses. And I wasn't always as focused and good with the details as I once had been, right? So hiring has freed up my time so I can focus on what I do best and what I need to be doing. And I'm always looking to get more things off my plate too. So think about what being able to focus on just one type of work or one task or a couple tasks instead of switching hats all the time. Think about what that could do for your business. I can't afford to outsource is something else I hear from designers. And again, I thought this too. But you actually don't need to be making tons of money to outsource. And here's why. First off, if you're hiring someone on a project basis, you should just get estimates from whoever you want to partner with before you give an estimate to the client. Because that means that you're already taking into account what you're going to pay them. You don't start out by getting the work and then finding someone later. And some designers do this. And what happens is you could end up losing money or not making enough for it to be profitable. And you can actually be more profitable when you outsource. And that's because instead of investing your time and money to learn every single skill out there, you can find somebody with that particular skill who does that all day, every day. If you're a print designer who doesn't build websites too often, you don't know what you don't know. And you're going to invest a lot of time and effort in trying to figure it out and hoping you get it right. And you might. But then someone who does this all the time already knows what's involved. And not only that, but they'll spend less time doing that work and they'll get it right the first time. And if you're looking for help on a regular basis, which could be part-time or full-time, you might need to consider looking for someone in another country whose rates you can afford. But don't just focus on the money that you'll be spending. Look at the bigger picture. Look at how much time that you're going to save. And also consider how less stressed you'll be focusing only on what you want to do. And consider how much time that you'll be able to spend on getting new work or new clients instead, so you're less likely to be in that feast or famine mode. So it helps to think of it more like an investment. And again, outsourcing can actually make your projects more profitable. And sometimes you can't afford not to. I mean, I used to work on these HTML emails, designing and coding them, and I didn't do them all the time. So I didn't know all the nuances with every single email program or service and combination with all of them either. And I would often spend more time troubleshooting things than doing the actual design and the coding work to begin with. I mean, it was such a time suck. And I was constantly having to explain to clients why the emails weren't all pixel perfect. And what happened was it made the work unprofitable sometimes. My time was actually better spent on other types of projects that I did all the time and actually enjoyed. Now, on another note, outsourcing can actually help you make more money by expanding the services that you offer. So, for instance, if you're a designer who builds websites, but you hate the ongoing maintenance of them, as did I, then you can partner with someone else that can handle that part for you. Now, something else I hear is that there will be a language barrier. Some designers might be interested in outsourcing, but they're afraid to because if they hire someone out of the country, they might not speak their native language well. And I totally get this. I totally understand it. And I've thought it myself. I mean, being able to communicate with someone in the same language is obviously very important. You can always have an interview with someone before you hire them. And I highly recommend that. And then you can assess their verbal language skills. But if writing is going to be more important because maybe you'll mostly be communicating via Slack, or another platform, then focus on their written skills. And if you look on Upwork, the Upwork profiles will show information about an individual's language competency. And Online Jobs PH will also show this, but in a different way. Some of the individuals there have actually taken English proficiency tests, and you can see how they scored. Now, another misconception that designers might have, and I've had this too, is that a big difference in time zones will be a problem. But there are many designers in other countries who are willing to work hours that are different from their typical daytime business hours, especially for people in the United States. You just have to ask someone that you're interested in working with when they are able to do the work for you. Unless you need someone to respond immediately during your business hours, like if you have urgent requests that come up throughout the day, like from clients, for example, then somebody could do work for you during their daytime hours, and then you just get back to them during your business hours. Now, the other side of this is that having someone work their business hours when you're done for the day, that can open up possibilities for your business. Like if you provide web support, let's say, and your client has an issue after your business hours have ended, your subcontractor could respond at that time. So you could charge a premium rate for after-hours service. You might also think that you won't be able to trust someone. You might be concerned that they will steal client information, to either take your clients or to do something with their passwords. I was scared at first to share logins to client websites when I started working with people. I mean, my developer, for example, he kind of needed to have them to do the work, I was scared at first to share logins to my online accounts for services that don't allow me more than one login, right? Like, so someone else could schedule posts for me or have access to my social media accounts. I mean, some things you can add another user and some you can't. And so I just gave access little by little, and just that trust was built up over time. But it's also important to have contracts in place to make expectations clear. And I also keep a list of the accounts that everyone working with me has access to. But I have found that after working with that right person over time, you will find that they actually become invested in your business. They're invested in helping you, not hurting you. And they really want to be a part of your success too. And they want to take work off your plate so you can focus on what you want. And it's a really wonderful feeling when that happens. Another objection I've heard, and one that I used to say all the time, is I don't want to manage anyone. Okay, well, it is hard to argue with this one. You will have to manage the project still and another person. But not every freelancer or subcontractor that you work with is going to require the same level of management. You can alleviate a lot of the time that you spend managing somebody by actually setting expectations up front and having processes in place. And processes could be not just what's needed for a project, but when you expect them to check in and where you want them to put files, how you want those files to be organized, how you want them to be named, and so forth. And of course, you'll have to spend some time up front to document these things, right? And you should also expect that it might take a few months for a freelancer or subcontractor to get to know your processes. And you might also want to review their work and provide feedback so they get a feel for what things you might want done a certain way. And this also gives you a chance to make your processes more detailed or find out where your processes fall short. And then after you do this, if it's a good fit with that person, you'll actually save a lot of time and have more profitable projects. Another objection to outsourcing that a lot of graphic designers have is that they're afraid they won't have control over the project or the quality of work. But that's simply not the case, because you can still manage the project and you can review the work and set the standard for the quality that you want. And trust me, I am super picky. So you'll have a say in what changes, might need to be made before you go and send the proof to the client. But you need to find someone who does good work first. And I also recommend giving them a test so you can assess the things that are most important to you. Is that creativity or is that technical details maybe? The other thing you'll want to do is document all the things that you normally do to quality check your work in the process. Because that way someone else can follow your process and check for those things as well. And that's going to cut down on the time that you're spending managing. I hope this has set some things straight and helped you understand more about outsourcing and how it can help your business be more profitable and actually save you time and a lot of frustration as well. If this episode was helpful to you, please take a moment to help me by leaving a review for the podcast on your favorite platform or by leaving a comment on the episode page of the website at creative-boost.com. And in another episode, I'll get into tips for hiring a subcontractor, because there are a lot of things that you can do upfront that will help you find the right person and make working together much, much smoother.